Alright, hello. We are going to tweak something about how our alarm works today and then start building some levels. So for a long time we've left the levels as a kind of, we'll get to it kind of thing. And the ones we have are just placeholder, and I think right now we start on level 2, which makes no sense. I've been holding off fleshing those out because once they are fleshed out, it's going to become much more expensive to change anything. Like if we want to change anything big, anything about how the game works, it would be better to do that before we make levels. And there's one more thing I do want to do before we do that. So this is a design problem, and it's to do with the little grace period we give you when you've been caught, or you've triggered the alert level, and now you've got this grace period to steal stuff, but you're being shot at the time. And I don't really like it. It doesn't really do the job. It was supposed to feel, I don't know, it was supposed to be a thing that makes the decision about where you steal stuff more interesting. But in practice, like, while you're trying to do that rush stealing, which is a little bit difficult anyway, just because, controls are not perfect, you might be fumbling around trying to grab things and hit E. I mean, with WASD and E, you have to take your finger off one key to press E. So there are certain maneuvers that are more awkward to do. And while that's happening, you're being shot at, and enemies are flooding in. And how dangerous that is, we don't know, because we don't know what situation you're going to be in. And ultimately, it doesn't really have the feel that I want. And to me, it seems like the problem is there's too much going on at once. Like, in the time we expect you to do your well-planned-out sneaky stealing, you're also in combat. And to be honest, combat is always going to take precedence, and you end up worrying about that much more. So my idea is simply to separate those two things. So if you hit the maximum alert level, we'll have a delay before the alarm goes off, rather than the alarm going off immediately and a delay before the lockdown. That way, the grace period is spent just stealing. No one's alerted to you yet. And it also has another little consequence that's nice of making there be a difference between hitting the alert level because you stole too much, or you stole the amount you're supposed to steal, versus being seen or firing a gun, because we'll make those two things an instant alarm. So, I need to remind myself a little bit how I did this, because I've done it twice now, and I changed my mind a bit about how to implement it. So, yes, right now a lot of things check alarm has sounded, and they will still want to do that, and I think what I'm going to do is create a new function called public bool max alert level reached. And what will the code for that look like? It will be exactly this. This is what we were already doing for alarm, was just have we hit the max alert level. In the current version of the game, that is the alarm sounding. Now it's going to be different. So, for now, I'm just going to say return false here. Don't worry about that. That's just to stop it complaining about an error. What we're actually going to do is something like return has the max alert level being reached, and something like I'm actually going to do this as a comment, and timer expired. That's what alarm has sounded will look like. And so we're kind of separating these two things, the maximum alert level being reached and the alarm going off. I am intentionally keeping the alarm part of it to mean like sirens are going off, enemies are flooding in, the whole full shebang. And everything that currently checks whether alarm has sounded, that's the sense in which they mean it. Should guards know where you are? Should sirens go off and stuff like that? That all refers to that actual alarm phase. The little grace period before is just going to be a different thing. So now we need a timer, and we need two variables for this: a public float alarm delay and a public float seconds until alarm. And so, in fact, I'm going to make that not public, because, so this one is the standard delay. This is like how long it will take in general. So like 3 seconds, I think, maybe 4. And then this one is going to be our personal count of how much of that time has elapsed. I'm making that not public. It's not, you don't have to do that, but it just means when I look in the inspector, which I'll do right now, and we go find it, alarm manager is on the alarm panel. Only one of those variables is shown here, and so I'm not confused about which one to set, because these, as I said last episode, it's real common with counters, with timers, that these two have real similar names, and that's a dangerous thing. So, when should this get set? When the alert level is reached. So, let me check my notes. Right, so we'll put in this countdown right now that I said I would do. So, the alarm will be truly off when seconds until alarm is less than or equal to 0, and the max alert level has been reached. I think the actual countdown will just happen in update, because we don't have like a special function that triggers when you hit the max alert level. Like this one is checking, did we reach the max alert level, but it's not a function that executes the first moment that you do, which was the thing that would be somewhat useful for us. So instead we'll just do if max alert level reached, let's try just that. Then seconds until alarm reduced by time dot delta time. Okay, yes, we set it in level start. So we already have a thing called setup level, and this is where the seconds until alarm equals the alarm delay. So it gets initialized when the level starts, and then doesn't start ticking down until the alert level is full, and update does that. And then when it is expired, alarm has sounded will be returning true for everyone. So everything that reacts to that, we'll find out about it then. And I also want a visual element to reflect this, but let's just see if this works at all. So we set the default value to 4 there. So I'm just going to steal some stuff, and in fact I can just fire a gun, and you can see nothing. The gun doesn't go off yet, but in a couple of seconds it does. Perfect. Okay, so I want to show you this is happening. So on our canvas I'm going to create a text mesh pro, and just call it alarm countdown, and it's going to look like something like this. That text isn't going to be what we actually show, but I just want something that was representative. I'm going to center it here, center it there, make it red for alarminess, make it bold, increase the font size. I like it nice and big actually, you don't want you to miss it, and maybe a bit smaller than that. And then the main thing is it shouldn't be in the dead center, should it? Because that's going to obscure our actual player. So if we just put it a bit below you. And Canvas will need reference to this. Done this kind of thing a lot, haven't we? Public text mesh pro GUI, alarm countdown text, and then alarm manager. It will be whether or not alert level, maximum alert level has been reached. So references.canvas alarm countdown text enabled. Not quite that. Enabled equals true. Not equals tree. And then if we're not at the limit, then we want to disable it. But we also, of course, want to set the text. So let's do text. We could just do that to string. But a float number has a lot of decimal places, so that's going to be quite an overwhelming number. There's a nice way of doing this I just learned recently, which is if I put in speech marks here, N1, that tells it you're going to get a number and I want to see it to one decimal place. You can do N0 and it will show a whole number, But we actually want, I think we do want a decimal place just to have that. It's a very split-second timing thing, and I actually think it makes it look a bit more exciting to have the thing ticking down rapidly. So just going to drag the actual element into the reference that we created here, and let's see if that just works. Hopefully this will be turned off as soon as the game starts. Nope. No, it's not. Let me see if it does work when... Okay, it counts down. That's nice. And then when the alarm goes off, it still... Is that because I said enabled equals true twice? I did, didn't I? I did that in practice too. Didn't learn a thing. Look, I'm not taking the tutorial. I'm teaching the tutorial. I don't need to learn anything. So that's almost it. Not quite. The main thing we've got left to do is... we've now got 2 delays in, because remember the old system is the alarm went off right away, but the plinth's delayed. And the new system is the whole alarm is delayed, so we don't need the plinths to delay. And I'm going to fix that in the rough and ready way, where this seconds to lock variable, that sounds important, so let's delete it and see what breaks. And this stuff breaks. So this used to depend on both the timer and the alarm having sounded. That sounds very familiar, doesn't it? That's exactly the logic we just wrote. And seconds to lock less than 0, well, we're not using counter anymore, so that will always be true. So we can just hide all of that. Is there anything else I need to do? Let me just... I'm just going to copy this. You don't need to do this, but I'm just going to undo everything just to check, because I thought there was a another thing that I wanted to include here. Oh yes, here it is. Yeah, the timer, this check, if seconds to lock is greater than 0, is checking the countdown hasn't expired yet. And then it decreases it and then checks if it did expire, all of which means this only triggers once, which is a nice thing in general. I don't think it would have any major problems if it triggered repeatedly. But we can check that by just checking whether our cage is active in hierarchy. So basically what I'm looking for is like something we do here that we can later refer back to and see, did we already react to the alarm? And the first thing we do is we set our cage to active. We put a cage on what we have. So one thing we could do here is just check if our cage is... actually, it should be false, shouldn't it? Glad I explained this, because then I spotted the error in my logic. If our cage has not been made active, then and the alarm has gone off, then we haven't reacted to the alarm yet, so let's react to the alarm. Probably like the extra secure sort of clean way to do this would be to create a new variable for that, of like, have we reacted to the alarm, true or false? But I don't think it's necessary. I think this is simple and should work. So the thing I want to test now is if I don't get caught and I just steal, the plinths should lock as soon as I'm done stealing. Wait, no. What I just said is false. The countdown will start when I steal this, and then as soon as it expires, all the plinths should lock. In fact, I'll steal something while I'm here. Yeah, perfect. But the alarm countdown is still on screen. I guess we just need another check for that, don't we? It's really just if the seconds until alarm is greater than 0 that we want to show a countdown. Once it's hit 0, we don't want to show a countdown. I suppose this actually goes in here. And then this goes outside of the if statement. Is that right? So max alert level is reached and we haven't finished ticking down the alarm yet, then we do want to tick down the alarm and we definitely want to show the countdown. If either one of those things is not true, let's point with the cursor, not with my finger. If either one of these two things is not true, then we want to disable the countdown. And yeah, why have I put this outside of the if statement? If we're not going to show the thing, then yeah, Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I moved that out. I'm a little bit out of it today. That's right, isn't it? If the alert level has been reached and the countdown hasn't expired, then we want to turn on the countdown, we want to decrease the timer, and we want to update the countdown. If any of those things are not true, we don't want to show the countdown at all, so we don't need to update it. Yeah. And I'll just play that just to show that it does work. Not at all to check. No, I'm completely confident. Okay. And disperse. Playing as skillfully as I'm teaching. Cool. That is done. Let me check how far in we are. That was 9 minutes. Okay. No, sorry, because I restarted the recording, so it was a bit more than 9 minutes. Probably closer to 20. So, I want to make levels now, and I'm actually going to rename our scenes folder to levels. Our levels are in a bit of a state. We haven't really given them a lot of love and attention yet. One of the first things I want to do, so my plan is to make let's actually talk about what the levels are going to be, what needs to change in different levels. So I'm thinking that we start off with a small normal level, then we go to a larger one. By normal I mean it just has like Uzi, shotgun, sniper, maybe standard swarmers, not the fast ones, not the tough ones. And then on level 3 we introduced fast enemies, on level 4 we introduced super weapons like the auto shotgun and things like that. And level 5 we introduced tough enemies, and then more enemy spawners and who knows what after that. We're not going to do all these levels today, so it will be the first like 4 maybe. So in each case, we've got variables for all these things, so we can decide what kinds of weapons can spawn. And when I say like introduce a weapon, I don't mean we'll guarantee it's going to be there. We'll just add it to the pool of possible things that can be there. But the other element to all this is what shape is the level. We created this level generator that can fill in any sort of shape, any rectangular shape of chunks that you might want to make, a sort of grid. And we want to vary that just for variety. That's what you get when you vary things. So what I don't want to do is basically be kind of rebuilding each time and customizing every single scene individually. I think if we're going to have some levels that are 3x1, some levels that are 2x2, some levels that are 4x1, then that should be a prefab, right? If we're going to use the same thing in multiple places, it should be a prefab. So I want to make one of those. And this level 1 is already a 3x1, isn't it? There are a bunch of things about it that are a bit shonky, if I recall correctly, such as some of these, look at some of these figures, minus 26.03, 25.11, a lot of things are not nicely aligned, and some things are out of whack. And I think there's also another more subtle problem that I didn't notice until I did a test, which is, let's create a big old cube that I'm going to call a placeholder block. And the idea is our level generator, if you remember, when we tell it we want 3 rows and 2 columns, for each thing in the row, it creates a chunk, then it moves on 15 in that direction, creates another chunk, 15 in that direction. When it creates a new column, it's going to move 30 down, create a chunk there. So in other words, we are working on a 15 by 30 grid, or no, I should say a grid of cells which measure 15 by 30. And so I'm just going to make a 15 by 30 object in our level so that I can see the grid, basically. As I say that, I would bet you can just change this grid to be 15 by 30, but I don't actually want to do that because it's not necessarily going to line up, and I want everything to be centered on 0, and the thickness of the walls matters and stuff. I want to be able to place these things freely. So I believe it's 15 in the X dimension and 30 in the Z dimension. And untextured is fine. I'm also going to make a little change. Another thing I don't like about this level is that I don't believe it starts at 0. No, it starts at minus 15. So I'm going to make it start at 0. And in order to make all this work, the level generator starts from here, and then it always goes in the positive direction in both X and Z axis. So, in fact, here's another thing that's messed up that I had to learn the hard way a few times in practice, is the view I had set up was facing in the negative Z direction, which is really confusing. This is the right way up. This is what we see in game. And so the level generator is going to create new chunks in the direction of the blue arrow and the direction of the red arrow. So this is not quite right at the moment, is it? Because we want the leftmost chunk to be here. So I'm going to move certainly all of this. I actually think that the enemy spawners should live inside the level geometry. It made sense at the time to put them outside, but now I want to move everything at once. And the starting position, I'll also put that in there. And I'm going to move all of this by 15, I guess. And now the level generator is at 0. The first block will be created right centered on there. Our placeholder block is also at 0, and it's showing us that, okay, cool, but it's not actually going to line up with the wall. So maybe we don't care about that, but it's good to know. And especially if you want to expand this or something, it can get real confusing when you sort of think, okay, I want to lose a third of the width to get a 2x1, and actually you don't get what you expect because it's not exactly 3 times the width of a chunk. Okay, so this establishes that we have a 3x1 thing, and I'm going to save this out as a prefab in the chunks folder. And we have a little margin at the sides. I might leave the margin in for now, and we'll see how we go. But it's good to know it's there, just to get clarity on this. These enemy spawners are all placed a bit weirdly. Look at these horrible numbers. They're also placed differently on the left than they are on the right. I think I prefer where they are on the right, so I'll do something roughly like that. Now, X is how far along. There it is. I don't really mind that being wonky, although it might as well be a whole number, right? It's not going to look weird. Yeah. Then Z coordinate could be 7, or it could be 6. What I really care about is that the other one matches it, so this would be -6. Yeah, I might make it 7 actually. Nope. 6. And then I want the ones on... Oh, hang on. Didn't check this. So I want that to be a nice whole number too. The height I'm going to let be weird because that is something that needs to be precise. So then this one, again, I'll round that down. I'll make this one -7, and this one 7, and -25. So that's all a bit neater. And what I want to do is have chunks like this. This is a 3x1 now. I'm going to call it a 3x1 level. And I'm going to save this out as a prefab. But before I do, I'm actually going to put the level generator inside it. Because I want the level generator's position to be fixed relative to the frame that it's going to generate within. Those two things need to be in lockstep. And B, on the level generator, we specify how many rows and columns there are. And since the prefab is going to be the thing that dictates how many rows and columns there are, it makes sense to set that alongside it too. So now all of this is one prefab for a 3x1 level. I hope that is all that I need to do. I'm actually going to put it in the levels folder, even though, I mean, I call it a level, so it is a level. It's more like a level template, isn't it? Should we call it that? And I will rename the file. So anytime we want to make a 3x1 level, we drag that in. We will want to update the level generator because it determines things like what weapons and enemies are going to spawn. But that's fine. We have to do it anyway. So now level 1 should look... Oh god. Like... Yeah, just the 2 essential basic objects and a template. Shall we find out if that worked? I don't think startup even takes us to level 1 at the moment, does it? If we look in our level manager, yeah, the first level is level 2. Let's see how level 1 is doing. Oh, there's one more thing we need to do. Real quick. is we should rebake navigation, because look, that's where the AI thinks it can walk, and this is where it should actually walk. So this was a long time ago that we first did this, but yeah, there's this tab called navigation. You just go to the bake tab here and then click bake, and that updates it. So now open startup again and play. Cool, I spawned in the right place at least. And level seems to have generated alright. I will... Oh yeah, let's actually shoot. Huh. Okay, two things went wrong there. One is that level 2 couldn't be loaded because it hasn't been added to the build settings. We can fix that by opening the build settings on the file, and then I just drag level 2 in here. We did already have a level 2, it's just got confused about which level's which. The system for tracking scenes is really shonky, I think, in Unity. For one thing, it's just outrageous that you need me to drag each scene into your build settings. Why isn't the default just to include all the scenes I made? I made them because we need them. If we don't need them, by all means give me a system to exclude them or something, but by default, just include all the scenes. I want all the scenes. Anyway, I also realised there's something wrong with our alarm system, which is I said we would still have things like gunshots and being spotted sound the alarm immediately. I forgot that doesn't happen, without me actually doing some work. So everyone's calling sound the alarm right now, which raises the alert level to the max alert level. We also want to set the seconds until alarm to 0. So that will sound the alarm immediately. If anyone says sound the alarm, not just raise the alert level, but sound the alarm, they mean sirens please, enemies flooding in, it's happening now. No grace period. So when you steal something, you raise the alert level. When you, I can show you that the two references that are there is the guard behavior, which is them seeing you. If we raycast and that hits, then we sound the alarm. And the other one is weapons, when they fire, they sound the alarm because they make noise. So in both cases, that'll be instant. And I will just check that worked, because I wouldn't have realized it had gone wrong if I hadn't tested it just now. Yes. That part did. I should also check that being spotted does it too. Yeah, great. So now there's an extra penalty for being spotted, and stealth is more important. But if you are stealthy, your grace period is much kinder. It's much more easier to navigate. So, level 2, I think will also be. So right now it's a 2x2. We could take this and make it a template, but I don't think I will. I think I'm going to. We had the stray health pickup there forever. We can delete that. I'm just going to drag in the 3x1, and it's not by no means a 2x2, is it? It's a 4x4, no, 4x2, which is a huge level. I think it's actually too big. It doesn't really suit our game. I'm going to delete almost everything. I will want to delete the level generator as well, but we may want to look at its properties first. So, this one is just, I will delete it. So, oh my god, I duplicated it, that's the opposite. Okay, so level 2 right now is exactly the same as level 1 now. Let me check, actually, no, it's not at 0, I want it to be at 0. I don't think that matters too much, because now the position of the level generator... Oh, you're kidding me. It's minus 15? Why is it minus 15? Didn't we just fix this? And if I set it to 0... God damn it. The whole point was to get that at 0. I mean, it doesn't actually matter, as we've already seen, it works fine. Before I go messing with this, let me do it in the actual prefab, not the instance. Level generator, I really want it to be at 0, 0, 0. I'm fastidious this way. And everything else will have to move by 15 to compensate, but that's okay. Let me try something nutty. Can I do... That almost worked, didn't it? Like, maybe not, maybe it didn't. I think everything went to 15. Okay. How am I going to do this? because I want to do it precisely, I can hold control to have it move in grid steps, but I also want to know when I've gone far enough. I'll move one of them manually. Actually, I wanted to teach you this because there is a cool thing you can do. Let's say minus 26.03 was a value we wanted to keep. I don't really. And I want to move it by 15 to the right. Rather than doing the maths in my head, I can actually just type plus 15 in here. And now it's moved by 15. So my plan is do that the hard way for one of them. Was that the north wall? No. West wall. And then I will drag everything else until it lines up with that. So that now should have the level generator in the right place. It's at 0, and that will be where we want the first chunk. So yes. Okay, has that broken our levels? Nope, should be fine. Yeah, that's all good. And I'm also going to go back to level 1 and check that that's going all right. No, this one is not. But let us reset it. Well, this one's just an offset place, which doesn't matter as long as the internal stuff is lined up. Yeah, okay, cool. This level stuff is always just a bit fiddly, just a bit annoying to deal with. I think we want another template that is 2x2. And to make that, I'll do that trick I just mentioned to you. So, checking this is the Z positive direction, the direction the blue arrow is pointing in. Let's move it by, our cells are 30 tall, aren't they? So if we just type plus 30 in there, then it moves by the correct amount. And now for tricky stuff like, I could duplicate the floor and make another one. I found that if you do that, there's a slight seam where they touch for some reason, which is annoying. Instead, I'm going to, so it was 30, I want it to be 30 bigger. I mean, I can do that in my head, but I'll type in plus 30 just so you can do that. But of course, it's still centered where it was, so you need to move it too. And what do you want to move it by? You want to move it by half the added size, because to be centered, you go half the distance. That's the wrong box, Tom. I've got to somehow... How do you add 15 to 0? Tricky. So that worked fine, and then these two walls, I can control select the two of them, and I think I can just do it all like that. Okay, this is really confusing because it's telling me there are only two in the Z dimension. Well, this is the Z dimension, but they are rotated. That's how I made these walls in the first place. So their Z dimension is different. Honestly, if you felt you would rather just keep them at rotation 0 and go to the trouble of resizing a cube to the right dimensions to fit this, then that would make a lot of sense to me as well. So their X scale, which is really their Z scale, is going to increase by 30, right? And their Z position, because position is still in world space, is going to go up by 15. Okay. And then for enemy spawners, I'm just going to select them all, going to Control D, and then drag them up like this. I think... Can't quite decide which is right, but if it looks right, it's right. Yeah, that looks right. And then our level generator should have width in chunks is 2, length in chunks is 2, and we want to check that it's in the bottom left corner, like if it creates in the red direction and the blue direction, that it will fill the empty space, and yep, that looks good. Where's our starting position? That's up against the wall, which is good. And now, I guess the other things we want to check. So this is level... hang on, no, sorry. I'm not going to change anything about that. In fact, I'm even going to reset these things, because this is a template that we're going to use in multiple different places. So I don't want it to specify particulars about which level is next. In fact, I'll wipe that. And while I'm at it, the idea is that this instance, the level generator that comes packaged with this template, shouldn't have any strong opinions about what the alert level should be or what the next level name should be. While I'm at it, I'm going to open the level generator prefab as well, and just check its defaults. There's a couple of things here I don't like. One is the default alarm levels is 0. I think it should be 3, as we don't want to have to set it everywhere. 3 is a pretty common value. Also, I'm going to change the first element in the swarmer list is tough swarmer right now. I think it should be regular swarmer, and tough swarmer can be second. That's just because if we then wanted to, I'll show you actually. Let's say in this level we didn't want any tough or fast ones, then I would just change the size of this array to 1, and now we only get the swarmer, and I don't have to rearrange anything. But we don't want to do that on this level because level 2 can have... maybe we do actually. Maybe we do. And likewise for restricting the list of weapons here. No, sorry. I am going to revert that because I forgot I'm editing the template, aren't I? Not the level yet. So this is just a 2x2 template. And in fact, it won't be level 2. It was going to be level 3. So let's duplicate level 2. It automatically names itself level 3, which is nice. And then I'm going to drag in the level 2x2 template. I'm going to delete the 3x1 template. I'm shocked and horrified that they weren't aligned because it's gone to 15 again. I don't know why it keeps doing that. It must be in the prefab itself. Yeah, okay. I'm just going to change these values. I've talked before about the transform component of the root level object of a prefab has a lot of weirdness to it, where you might want to set the size, but it will throw that away. You don't want to set the position, but it will remember that. So yeah, I'm just going to get rid of those 15s. That's really annoying that it's one little arbitrary decision in like episode 1 probably still plaguing these prefabs and stuff. Little things can just hide from you like that. Now, I guess I should say that in the prefab thing, I'm not doing the navigation. We're going to do that in the level. Should I try it in navigation? I've never tried baking the navigation of a prefab. Nothing happened, so I think that's because navigation, the nav mesh is kind of a thing that a scene has. I don't think prefabs have their own nav meshes in general. There may be a way to do that, but I think this baking a nav mesh is sort of a level-wide operation, and I mean, oddly enough, it's perfect, isn't it? Maybe that did work. Who knows? Maybe you can bake a nav mesh in a prefab, but I'm not going to rely on it because I've never done that before. Okay, so level 3 is a big one. So we actually do want to set, now that we're editing the level and not the prefab, I am happy to change these values such that I will have the next level be level 4. The alarm levels, I'm actually going to increase that to at least 4, could even be 5. This is going to have, ultimately this is going to have 4 chunks in it, and I reckon 1 alarm level per chunk is pretty good. There'll be, each chunk might give you 2 or 3 things to steal, maybe 4, more likely 3. And so if there's 1 alarm level per chunk, then you're going to be stealing 1 in every 3 things potentially, which is enough that you're making meaningful choices. This one, sure, let's let it have all of these guards and all of these weapons. But now let's go back and edit level 2 to restrict it. Because I started to do that, then realised I was editing the prefab. So its next level name for some reason is level 2. I think that's a bad idea. I think it should be level 3. And yeah, I'll restrict this to 5 weapons. No, that still includes the Rayosi, so it should be 4 weapons. Then we just get the 4 basic ones. Swarmer types, only 1. It's the basic Swarmer. These settings are already correct. Actually, not quite. So number of guards, I'd like it to be 2. Number of spawners, I'd like it to be at least 2. And save that. I'm actually going to go back to level 3 because I didn't set the number of spawners there. So number of spawners 1 would be crazy for such a huge level. Let's say 3. And guards also 3. So that's scaling up a little bit, not too drastic. Yeah. And then level 1. Let me just check all these settings. I think we haven't restricted things yet. No. So bring it down to 4 weapons and 1 enemy type. I may even make this one smaller. I started with it because it was already 3x1 and I wanted to make the 3x1 template, but I actually think level 1 should probably be 1x2 maybe. I don't know. The settings though are fine, I think. Yeah, 1 guard, 1 spawner, 3 alert levels. That should be good. Let me try them. Okay, got grace period, but there's nothing really to steal except weapons, and I've got the weapons I wanted. In fact, I kind of messed that up because I dropped the weapon. Nope, I messed it up again. Let me deal with this guy. And I dropped a sniper here, didn't I? Or a shotgun, okay. Okay, rocky first level. Wait, how do I have -3 score? That doesn't seem right. So we may have a score bug. Oh my god! Yeah, I can see how that might happen. Let me unplay. Because I don't think we stop decreasing bounties when they hit 0. Let's see. Update. If bounty is greater than 0, decrease it. Okay, we do only decrease it if it's already greater than 0. But yeah, I just wonder if let me make sure that when it's added. Oh, we floor to int, so we go down. So I would guess if it's at all less than 0, then it will go to -1, and that's how I ended up with -3. Since we created a function to return the bounty as an integer, I think that's where the check should go. We could do an if it's less than 0, make it 0. You know what? I'm going to do that. That's just better. If bounty less than 0, bounty equals 0. There's another way you can do this with a function called, I guess it would be mathf.max, which is perfectly fine. But honestly, this is so human readable. This is just exactly what we mean. That's the thought I had. If it's less than 0, we should make sure it's just 0. And the mathf max thing, one reason that I prefer this reading of it is that it's easy to get mixed up about maxes and mins, because when you want when a thing shouldn't go below 0, you say max, and when a thing shouldn't go above something, you say min. And there's something slightly unintuitive about that. When it's a big number, you say min, and when it's a small number, you say max. So anyway, that should fix that bug. And I'm going to play better this time. Alright, let's think. I definitely want a sniper, because that's nice, ammo efficient, great for guards. And I kind of want a crowd weapon. Maybe I'll take the railgun, because that's going to be good for getting to bounties, like that are in a crowd. Oh yeah, the other bug that I wanted to... oh my god. Well, I'm glad that it came up again so I can mention it. You can definitely spawn right in front of a guard, can't you? And then you don't get a chance to do any stealth, which is a real serious problem. I swear we have code for preventing that, but doesn't seem to be doing it, does it? Okay. Well, that was a mess. And level 3 can be loaded because it hasn't been added to the build thingy. Okay. Let's drag it in then. I mean, startup isn't in the list, by the way, and we use that all the time. It doesn't seem to mind about that. Just wildly inconsistent. I guess, yeah, I'll have one more go and at least get to level 3, make sure everything functions at least that far. Oops, forgot to actually switch weapon. Didn't really focus on what I was doing there play-wise, but I got an Uzi. Uzi's good. We definitely have like a clean dividing line between these reliable weapons that have good ammo counts and just kind of work generally, and the other ones that are a bit more chaotic. So I'm going to snipe this guy. And then Uzi's great for racking up those bounties. No bounties in that group, or maybe I missed them. out of Uzi ammo now. I would like maybe an ammo crate, or I could just replace it. So lots of antiques there. So I'd like to maybe end my grab here. Remind me, you can't obviously, but remind me that I need to change level 2 because it didn't spawn any antiques, and I think that might be a setting that we've set. Okay, so let's get rid of my Uzi, and I think maybe we'll just do an Uzi shotgun instead. And then I'll do, when the guards are clear, I'm going to do a mad dash for antiques. Except he's coming my way. Okay, not this way then. But maybe this way. I don't want them to be too close, because even though they won't see me, they'll turn on me once the timer's up. So, oh damn, that guy's gone that way. Alright, well I can take this one safely anyway. And I can take this one safely. And then it's this one that's going to trigger it. So if I go now, I reckon that would be good. Got time. Oh, I can even maybe... not quite. Uzi shot. Okay, so that was a great demonstration of how the Uzi shotgun is great at getting bounties from both kinds of enemies. Like, the sniper is great at getting bounties from tough enemies, and the Uzi is great at getting bounties from fast enemies, but the Uzi shot is good at both of them. Actually, I really like the pace of the combat now, where there's a frenetic phase where as soon as they show up, you've got to rush for those bounties, and then once that's... Oh, okay. That's expected. We haven't made level 4, so it can't be added. Yeah, the combat sort of has a calmer phase where it's more about, now that I've got the bounties, how do I use my ammo most efficiently to pick off the remaining enemies? And of course, if we hadn't fixed that alarm thing, if our grace period was still happening at the same time as enemies were flooding in, the time pressure of the bounties would be stacking on top of that as well. So that was definitely a worthwhile change. So yeah, the thing I need to change is on level 2. The level generator, I think, is preventing us from getting any antiques, and it is. So we'll make this half and half. And in fact, you know what? I'm going to revert it and edit the actual prefab and make the default 0.5. The default is 0.5. So when I reverted it, why didn't... Oh, because this is a nested prefab thing. This is a prefab within a prefab. The 3x1 level template contains this override, which it really shouldn't. If I'd noticed that, I would have fixed it at the time. And this... Damn it, I really thought we fixed this. Didn't we fix this? Okay. And now that I've done that, I also want to check that what the instances are doing in the levels, because maybe we were relying on that, and in fact we were. Fraction of plinths. So we're setting it back to the same value that it always was in level 1, but this time it is correctly an override that level 1 is applying to the template, not a thing that the template is saying. Template shouldn't make any judgments about how many plinths should happen. And next level name has been cleared because we were relying on that being as the default as well. So that's good. I mean, it shouldn't have been set in the template, so we need to set it as an override here. And then level 2, let me see the level generator. Next level name is level 3, fraction of plinths is good. And level 3 uses a different template, so I can't imagine it would have the same problem. No, it doesn't. Perfect. Alright, that is all in order now. So that's how we're going to build levels, and we built 3 of them. We'll probably try and do 10 in total. As I sort of mused here, we might need some more enemy types. I think it's going to need to get tougher. I have an idea for a boss, but I'm not going to tell you what it is, because if we run out of time, I don't want you to be disappointed. We may not do a boss. It might just be like a level with, 6 guards and loads of tough swarmers. Maybe there's something in particular you've got to steal, or maybe the antiques are worth a lot on that level, and it's all antiques, so it's just about how many can you steal. Some little twist at the end like that might be nice. And the idea is that the game should get harder quite rapidly, because one thing I have noticed is that you'll always overestimate how much the least skilled players will be able to do, and you'll always underestimate how much the most skilled players will be able to do. In other words, there'll always be people who struggle with things that you thought, surely that's super easy, and there'll always be people who completely ace things that you thought, surely that's impossible. So you want a really big difficulty spectrum, and that means if we're only going to do 10 levels, then it's got to ramp up pretty sharpish. So yeah, I plan to just from 5 onwards, like no holds barred, just make it really nasty. And this is a game, it's about getting high score. It's sort of roguelike-ish. It's random generation, permadeath, and you're trying to get a good score in a run. And yeah, maybe the high-priced antiques at the end are the reason to get to the end level. Like why that's good is just that it gives you a better chance at a good score. But yeah, I think that's enough for this episode.